To be honest, I really had no idea what I wanted to do for a video. I just wanted to make a new video because I got a new camera. Haha. Yeah, I got a new camera. It's in 4K now. It's time to read some random Reddit stories because why not? So basically, here are some absolutely diabolical and devious and nefarious Reddit stories that I found. I haven't like pre-read any of these first, so like I haven't like read them before I start the video, so I'm probably gonna have to cut out about half of this. So awesome. What's your no one will ever believe this true story? My weirdest true story is I was camping in the Appalachian Mountains with 3 of my guy friends. We were all laughing and telling stories. Am I focused? I was camping in the Appalachian Mountains with 3 of my guy friends. We were all laughing and telling stories around the fire one night, around midnight. A friend next to me grabbed my leg and pointed at the woods. We both saw a man's silhouette standing there. We called out to him, but he turned around and vanished from sight. We were 18, no cell service, and camp was pitched up at midnight. Too late to search for another spot where we might get away from whoever it was, and too scared to search for him. We decided to sleep through the night with a 2-man watch team. No signs of him for the rest of the night. We got out of the woods all right. 2 days later, 2 hikers were stabbed and killed by a mentally disturbed man who had encountered them on a trail near to where we were camping. Every now and then, I wonder how close we came to having our cards punched that night by what could have been a knife-wielding murderer. Yeah, that's pretty diabolical, I can't even lie. This is exactly the type of stories that I wanted to see when I started making this video, and I'm happy I read that, but that's kind of terrifying. I hope that you and nobody else watching this will ever have to go through that, because that's tragic. You ever hear about Randall Lee Smith? Back in I can't read. You ever hear about Randall Lee Smith? Back in 1981, he murdered 2 social workers hiking up the Appalachian Trail. He was caught, convicted, served in 15 years prison for the murders. Only 15, that's kind of crazy actually. He was paroled and released. In 2008, 2 men camping in Dismal Creek, Virginia had a man come out of the woods and talk to them while they were fishing. The guy was a bit odd, an old man in brand new poorly fitting gear. He sorta invited himself to dinner. While sitting around the campfire, the old man pulled out a pistol and shot one in the head and fired after the other guy. The pistol was a .22, and the shot to the guy's head was deflected. He was shot in the head but he was still alive, and he charged the guy and tried to wrestle the gun away. His buddy who ran was shot in the back but wasn't aware of it as he jumped in the Jeep and started it up. When he heard his friend start the Jeep, the guy who, I will remind you, was shot in the head, ran for the Jeep, not wanting to be left behind. Both shot and losing blood, they tore down the mountain. The old man, however, took the truck they left behind and started chasing them. They made it down the mountain, got to a farmhouse, and banged on the door begging for help. The police were called, and the 2 victims were airlifted to the hospital and survived. The cops went up the mountain and found the old man in the pickup that had overturned during the chase. He was hurt from the crash. They arrested him and got him taken to a secure hospital where he was identified as Randall Lee Smith. The attack happened less than a mile from his previous murder site. In his pockets were personal effects, glasses, keys, and other things whose owners may have never been identified, but they were not of a prescription or style likely to belong to an old man. Randall Lee Smith died of his injuries from the crash 4 days after being caught. The 2 men who would have been his victims survived. I did not ever hear about that, but that's crazy. I'm surprised I haven't heard about that because that's kind of wild. But like also if you are in the middle of the woods and like some guy randomly kills you for no reason, I feel like you shouldn't maybe let him out 15 years after so he goes and does it again. At least they survived them, so that's good. I got a hole-in-one playing golf. While that in of itself isn't exactly unbelievable, it was honestly like something out of a stupid comedy. I completely mishit the ball and went down into a ditch, bounced off a rock, hit a tree, then landed on a hill next to the green and slowly rolled down into the hole. It was so ridiculous I almost didn't believe it myself. Yeah, sometimes there's just like insane 1 in a million moments in everyday life. Like for example, I I was listening to my playlist like a few weeks ago, and I was thinking in my head like, wow, I want to hear these 3 songs, and like I said in like three songs in like an order, and they played in the exact order that I said. It was actually insane. When I was 16, I woke up into one of those very vivid real life type dreams. Like a dream where you stand up and wake up in your room and you don't even realize you're still dreaming. I sat upright in bed and looked sideways to my door and saw a figure standing in my doorway. The figure said, "Your dad will die when you're 22. Then I actually woke up, laying in bed too nervous to turn around or look at the door. The next morning at breakfast, I told my family, including my dad, about the dream. Everyone was uneasy, and then my dad said, "Don't worry about it. Now that you've told me, there's no way it will happen." He died tragically and suddenly when I was 22. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Dreams are weird. Yeah. I have many stories actually, but this one just happened in February. I was stuck in Mexico because of COVID, and I know it sounds like a dream, but what led up to it wasn't at all. I had to go see a doctor downtown, then call Uber for a ride to the mall for groceries. The Uber guy starts driving, then pulls out a second cell phone, does some texting, and then he turns to me and says he's not allowed to drop me off at the store doors. He has to drop me off in a parking lot like a block away. So that's the rules his supervisor will be watching to make sure he doesn't go to the door. This is obviously not true, and I figured something was bad. This is obviously not true, and I figured something bad was about to happen to me. So I told him I know another driver and I was going to ask him. I lied. I didn't know anybody. So I texted all the Uber info that I had on the driver and his picture, and I posted it on Facebook. By then we were getting close to the mall, so I said to him, my driver friend said, "What you told me is dumb and not true, and you have to drive me to the door." He just looked at me with a smirk and kept on driving. So I told him he also had to send me all of your info to him. He also had me send all of your info to him, including your picture, as well as post it on social media. That's when his face fell and he took me right to the doors. I turned him into Uber. They didn't do anything. And my hotel. When I got back to Canada, I wrote the Canadian Council about it. And they wrote me back and let me know because of my experience they have amended the warnings for visiting Mexico to include a warning about potential kidnappings like I went through. Okay, 2 main takeaways from the story. Number 1, if you get any suspicion, that like just leave immediately. Like you have nothing to lose. Like as soon as you can, leave. If he locks the doors, then I don't know, you're cooked, but just try to leave. And the second thing, that was written so horribly, I could not read it at all. I'm sorry, but I just could not. When I was 7, my family and I were in a village in our vacation house. It was in the middle of a pretty dense forest, so there were many animals, which I loved a lot. I was sitting on a porch eating strawberries, and I see a squirrel sitting on the railing, clearly being careful as it was at what I would imagine a comfortable distance. I took a strawberry and placed it on the railing in front of me, still far away from it, and went inside. When I went back out, the strawberry was gone, so I just assumed it took it. Next year, when we were back at the house, I was once again out on the porch eating sunflower seeds. And the exact same squirrel just casually jumps onto the railing and sits right in front of me, looking at me expectantly. I put a generous amount of sunflower seeds on the table in front of me and lean back, and after some time, it jumps onto the table and starts eating. I did startle it, but it's probably one of my childhood memories. I mean, yeah, I love it when nobody would believe me that a squirrel ate my food, and those are definitely the same squirrel, by the way. No squirrels look alike. They're all different. How dare. I was helping my friend with construction on his house when there were various Monster energy cans around. I knew one of them was mine, but I didn't really care about formalities, so I just picked up one expecting it of Monster. It was full of pee. That's your fault. I can't even lie, bro. That's entirely your fault. I was young, maybe around 8 or so. My older brother and I were sitting in my room when suddenly blinds, closed at the time, started shaking like a ripple motion from top to bottom. We froze, and I noticed a shadow of a hand in the top left corner. That just happened to be where a big hole was in my window. We started to laugh because we thought it was our dad playing a trick on us, so we called out to him real loud, and we heard him answer from the other side of the house. We then called out to my mom thinking it was her, but she also answered from the other side of the house with my dad. We started yelling and my parents came running. After we explained to them that we opened a blind, After we explained to them the open blinds, and there was a squirrel on the screen outside of my window, not uncommon. I live in a slightly more rural area in Alabama. They said that's all it was. Once my parents left, my brother looked at me asking if I saw.
Write your story back.
Once my parents left, my brother looked at me and asked me if I saw the shadow of the hand as well. I said yes, and I described it to him in detail. I saw it extending from the top left, and it looked like it had semi-long, sharp fingernails. We couldn't figure out how a squirrel on the outside of the house could rattle the blinds in the inside of my room. I think my parents only told us that to calm down. I was at work one night. I work in fast food, and I was the only person on Expo for that shift. When you're on Expo, you stand outside and deliver people's food in the drive-thru. And then there's these little receipts on the bag that say the customer's name, what they ordered, and what they're driving. So it's going normal until I get to a guy named Adam in a silver sedan. This man ordered 2 of every sauce and a cherry Coke mixed with Sprite. The order of an absolute menace. So I give him his food and he pulls forward, and I go to deliver the next order. As I'm about to get to the next order, all I hear is 18 naked cowboys in the showers at Ram Ranch, coming through the loudest car speakers I've ever heard in my entire life. I turn around and of course it's that silver sedan, and the tires spin as he speeds off. Nobody believes me when I tell this story. I don't know where that guy is today, but Adam, I guess thank you for making my shift more interesting. I mean, we all do a bit of tomfoolery from time to time. He's probably with the boys that night. They probably had 8 beers down, wanted to mess with some drive-thru workers, and I'd do that personally, or something similar, not quite. A few months ago, I was on a scout camp, and went like any other scout camp goes. All the patrol leaders had to have a meeting about the camp and the plans later on the camp. That afternoon, one kid starts acting creepy, and he says he has sleep paralysis. No one actually believed him. He continued saying he could see demons walking around him. Myself and 3 other people didn't believe him, so we asked him where he got corrupted. He had told us that over the fence and through the trail. Myself and some 3 others walked over to the location he told us about and jumped the fence. As he explained, there was a trail. We followed the trail through the bushland until the trail ran out after about 5 minutes. One of the guys said, "See, I told you there's nothing here." We agreed with him and started walking back up. 5 seconds later, in the distance, we heard a crack from a tree, like a branch snapped off. We shot our heads around, afraid of what there might be. There, falling from the top of the tree, an object 3 to 4 times the size of a large dog, full black head and orange body, thudded onto the ground, hidden by bushes and shrubbery. The 3 people I was with freaked out and ran back up the campsite, but I didn't. I stopped, waited to see for any movement or sign of any life, but nothing. A little creeped out, I slowly walked back up to a rock. We all looked at each other, a little confused and scared. We all saw it. What was it? We told everyone else, and they also freaked out. Ended up telling them we were joking. About a month later, I rode back to the camp with a friend to see if I could see anything. Again, still nothing. So, to this day, nobody believes me. It's one of those things where you'll just never know. And it's also one of those things that it's probably something really stupid that happened. And nobody will ever figure that out. And that's kind of cool, actually. That's kind of a cool life experience to have. I can't even lie. My friend got his first car, which was a Ford F-150 stepside, and his dad is always a car guy, and with a nice car lift and the huge tool set in his guitar. What the freak am I saying? My friend got his first car, which is a Ford F-150 stepside, and his dad is a car guy with a nice car lift and huge tool set in his garage. Well, They always take apart their new cars to grease everything up and check for function and stuff to clean. We also... What the frick is this writing, dude? Well, he took the passenger side door panel button out, and underneath was a brown envelope full of brand new $20 bills that totaled up to about $5,000. Just a tad more than what he had paid for the truck. The truck had 2 gas tanks. I suspected it may have been used by the drug smugglers at some point, and may have been seized and then resold later. I was there for the whole thing, or I wouldn't have believed it myself from the time the truck pulled into the house to the time that they found the money. Funny thing is I saw a bit of the envelope sticking out, and I thought it was the liner of the door panel like older cars used to have, like 5 minutes before my friend started messing with the door. He had just removed the button panel and was about to take the door panel off the rest of the way. It was insane. That's one of the things that, who cares if somebody believes you? You get $5,000. Who even cares at this point? Who cares? You get $5,000 in the bank. You basically pay off the truck again because the cartel got you. Like, the cartel got you financially, bro. They got you right.